Well, I guess when I was growing up, um it was the Bill Haley era, and if you're talking about rock, that's where I figure rock is, and people like then. Of course, Elvis came into it in the 50s, and really commanded the whole situation. I think as far as the rock was concerned, and then I didn't know. I mean, in the 50s, and when I was in the service in 1954, I was stationed in Germany where Elvis was stationed, and I thought to myself, I used to go into the canteen and put the Elvis's music on the jukebox. Little did I know that a few years later on in my life that I would meet him and he would become my friend, and we'd become pals. And he sang my music and I sang his, and it was unbelievable to know that I came from nowhere, and he was already a massive star. This magazine of yours is a 1978. Gazing through it, there is a picture of moi, at the bottom here, with Burt Reynolds and Mike Douglas, who incidentally was probably one of the greatest TV hosts of the time. I think he was an amazing person, and him and Merv Griffin and people like that were just amazing. Johnny Carson. And I did those shows in that era, at that particular time when my songs were all rocketing in the charts, I'm not sorry about that I'm not in the charts frequently in today's world, because, through the years from 1967 to 2011, according to what I've sold in the industry, it's probably in the region of about 150 million units. So therefore I'm in the top 5 or 6 of the world class of selling albums, and I'm amazed. I'm just totally amazed with it. But it's been logged as the truth, and that's where I read it. And in 1974 I was up to 120 million. So you're talking 1974 to 2011. It's just an amazing time in my life.
Remember the sideburns of Elvis?
I also have to tell you that in this picture, if you look at it, I'm not wearing any sideburns. And I started this in this thing in 1967 when I had my first hit. I had Release Me. I had these long sideburns, and at that particular time, my manager was Gordon Mills. That in this picture, if you look at it, I'm not wearing any sideburns. And I started this in this thing in 1967 when I had my first hit. I had Release Me. I had these long sideburns, and at that particular time, my manager, who was Gordon Mills, who was brilliant, I want to tell you, because he brought up a stable of singers that became very, very big in the world, and with Tom Jones and Gilbert Sullivan and people like that. His name is Gordon Mills, and he was one of my dear friends. He said to me, "What do you need those sideburns for? Shave them off." I said, "No, Gordon," I said, "this is what I think is going to create an image for me around the world." And that's what I did. I saved them, I kept them, and I grew them really long. My first ones at the beginning wasn't that long, but 1968, 69, they were huge. And if you take a look at Elvis's pictures later on in about 69, 70 or 71, Elvis grew his sideburns really long too. And then in 1978, the year of this magazine, I shaved off my sideburns because I thought, people were thinking that I was copying that magnificent man Elvis, and I was the one that started it, and then major artists in the world started growing their sideburns long, like Glenn Campbell and the Beatles and Elvis and many other major acts in the world. But I really started the trend. I brought it to America, and when I went on the Johnny Carson show, they used to say Engelbert's sideburns are so long that he used to tuck it into his underwear and all that business. And Bob Hope made a comment. He said, Engelbert looks as though he's always on the phone. So there were a lot of wonderful, wonderful remarks about my sideburns, but I did stop.
I want to do that.
Well, you know, when I first began in the industry, I didn't know where I was going to go. I had no idea. So when I formed, I had a small group of four musicians, and I started singing rock and roll in the early days, you know, just to try and get myself into the pop world, and that was for a while. So I sang in little clubs doing pop songs, the pop songs of the era, you know, and trying to get established as a rock singer, but that didn't happen. It really didn't happen. I was more, I think my style swayed towards being a balladeer and to singing the romantic songs. And that's what I did later on in my years. I started singing ballads. When Gordon Mills managed me in 1966, he started managing me, and of course I got the song Release Me in 1966, and I recorded it, and it was released January the 13th, 1967. It took 3 months to establish itself, and then it went to #1 in the UK, where I come from, and it went to #1, and then it stopped the Beatles from going to #1 with Penny Lane. I hope they're not mad at me for that, but because it was their 13th #1 they were going to have, and they didn't have it. And then it went to #1 in the USA, and then it went to #1 around the world, gave me that global recording career immediately around the world, and it's just an amazing one song victory for me, you know, to have a song as great as that put me in the eyes and ears of the world. It was just an amazing time in my life, 1967. Well, all the music of the 70s and 80s and 80s was my time, because all the songs that I've recorded in the years of the late 60s and the 70s carried me into the 80s. So I have to tell you that, you know, I wasn't shy of a major of any major record. I wasn't shy. I didn't miss not having big hits at that particular time, because I already had the hits that carried me into 2 decades or 3 decades. And what is happening in my life right now is quite unique, because I've been in the business now. It'll be my 45th year in the industry. I know I don't look that old. Yeah.
No.
Okay, but I want to tell you that the kind of what's happening right now. My son, Scott, who is managing me and is doing a superb job, has contacted all these major people, and they're all going to write a song for my 45th year, which is people like Paul McCartney, Please Paul, and I've got Bryan Adams, I've got Dave Stewart, I've got Yosef, Cat Stevens, you know, people like Elton John, you know, who said that he would one day, hoping that one day people like Englebert Humperdinck would be recording one of his songs. And I never did record his songs in those days, but you know, but Elton's such a great writer, and I've sang his songs in my show, and I've recorded his songs, you know, over the past few years. I've been recording several songs that he was the writer of, and he's going to write me a song. And you know, my audiences have never changed. I try not to change, and you know what? People say that I haven't been into Beverly Hills surgery and had surgery done or anything like that. I don't get involved with that, because I think growing old, you should grow old gracefully, and I'm just going along with that. And thank God, God has been good to me, and I don't have to do that. You know, not yet, and I don't think it's going to come for a long time. But I just feel, I don't feel that I'm in my 75th year. I just feel probably in my 50s something year. I mean, on stage, I don't think there's a man in the audience who says, who's 75, they'll say, that guy's my age, you know, because, and I don't try to be young, it's just my way, it's just my way of being, and I can dance and sing and do all the things that I did 30, 40 years ago, you know, the same thing. In fact, a little bit more, because I was a little stiff in the early days. I felt wooden in the early days, and it's because I was self-conscious, and you know, I wasn't sure of my success. I felt inadequate. I didn't feel though I belonged in the rock eras and that particular time. So I felt inadequate. So it was a little embarrassing for me to move, you know. As far as my ability is concerned, I don't think I've reached my pinnacle yet. I think I'm still learning. I'm still from everything I see and hear on television or in music. I'm still learning. I don't know everything. I'm very ambitious to this day. I still do my own arrangements, and you know, I make my music. You know, I got a doctorate in music, and but I'm very proud of that fact that, you know, I'm capable of doing all these wonderful things that has helped my career sustain for the last 45 years. The one mistake that was made in my career, and that was when I was managed by somebody else, was they turned down the Gorillas who wanted to do a duet with me. Can you believe that? They turned down the Gorillas. Anyway, I want to get back and do something with them, and I've got good plans for the future. Even though I'm this far in my career, I'm still looking. I'm still ambitious. Cool. And I'm going to keep going.